Computer. Great. Well, thank everybody for joining us. And we are here to celebrate the 5th or 4th of July, depending on which time zone I guess you might still be living in. It's been, it was interesting. I was trying to figure out a theme for this week's chat. And I said, well, American Parade, it's the 4th of July. It's a big thing. And it's hard to believe it was 50 years ago. I mean, I'm feeling real old when I think about that. 50 years ago that this came out. Larry Luray, who's joined us, who's been was one of the cast members working in this, so I'm looking forward to getting some of his recollections. But when I went into interview for my job at Disney, and I've mentioned this in past talks, I was down at Disney World and went in just as a tourist and decided it would be so much fun to work there. I went and applied for a job, and the American Parade was the parade underway. This was 1976. And it was like, oh, sure, let's show you what's back behind the curtain. And it was just, kind of really neat. And then, I had seen it in Florida during the interviews, and then they moved me to California. And oh, here's the same parade. Was really great. So to me, American Parade was really a great parade. It gets really mixed reviews by some of the people out there, but mostly, as we'll see, the big-headed dolls. But the scope of this parade was really significant. It was Disney's largest parade to the time, had 50 floats, 150 performers, and some of these floats were pretty tall. I think the tallest was 33 feet, and a lot of them were up in the 20-foot range. And they wanted to go larger, but you could only go up to 33 feet. And even there, some of the stuff had a telescope down, because it had to go under things like train tracks and barriers to get it from the one beginning to the parade route and back around the other end. So let me start here. I just wanted to pull something up. Okay, we'll do a share screen. Here we go. Okay. So the whole thing starts with this fellow, Bob Yanni. Bob was I think his title was something like Director of Creative Development or something, Walt Disney Productions for the theme parks. And Bob was a real big guy in doing shows. You may recall a little parade called the Main Street Electrical Parade. Well, this guy did all sorts of things. So also outside of Disney, he also did halftime Super Bowl shows and a variety of things, but he was a really dynamic guy. I think I was only in 2 meetings with him, and I never had much interaction. But this was the guy that energy just radiated out from, and I think it was a guy that didn't like to hear the word no, because he just liked the challenge. And he put on some really amazing shows. So Main Street Electrical Parade was doing well, and huge hit. But they decided they wanted to do something really different for the bicentennial. They were going to do a parade to salute America, and they started working on it. And in Bob's fashion, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And we ended up with a parade not for 1 year for the bicentennial, but it was so expensive to mount this, they decided it would go from 1975 into 1977. And they later had to change some of the plans on that, but this was where he started. And they enlisted a fellow named Peter Larkin. Peter was a stage designer, a Tony Award winner on Broadway. And he had some little shows you may have heard about, like Peter Pan with Mary Martin, that sort of thing. And Peter had an interesting design philosophy. In an interview, he told people that he was a big believer in minimalist set design and more is less. And he said he liked the idea back in burlesque when they would set the entire scene by a nurse walking onto a stage, putting down a card table and said, we're now in the doctor's office. So he thought really that the more you had to tell the story with less, it made the set pieces that much more dynamic. So he's the guy that came up with all the great floats for this thing. Again, it's a Disney parade, but it was basically designed. Yanni was an employee, and he used a lot of outside contractors. So he went to this fellow Larkin. They designed it. They built it. He also, if you go back, by the way, to my July 4th, 1920 talk, which I'm trying not to repeat on this talk, but I did a talk on that date. It's in the archives if you want to go back and look. They brought in Barnett Ritchie and a bunch of other people to do the choreography of it. And it was a parade with a really different look. It also is a parade with a different sound. This is Jack Wagner, the voice of Disneyland. And Jack was a big player in doing this. I mean, we all know him as the guys that said, "Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Disneyland is now closed for the night," or "Turn your eyes to fantasy in the sky." But he also did a tremendous amount of creative work. If you go back to the Main Street Electrical Parade, the signature song "Baroque Hoedown" was one that Jack picked because originally they were going to go with a different type of music. And Jack said, "Oh, for the electrical parade, this is all high tech. We need high tech music." And he listened to a whole bunch of synthesized music and came up with Baroque Hoedown done by a different group. And he brought in a composer, not a composer, a synthesist for that, who worked on that. And during it, they came up with a guy named Don Dorsey, who was a college student at the time and was recommended by the Moog Synthesizer Company to come and do some of the work on America, I'm sorry, on the Electrical Parade. So now they come up with the idea that they're going to use a American this sort of traditional music background, but with technological overlays for America on Parade. And the fellow who had been the primary synthesis for Electrical Parade was ill, and Don stepped up. The other fellow unfortunately died during this process. But then they went to the primary work of a fellow named Don Dorsey. This is Don back in those days. Don, as I mentioned, I think he went to Cal State Fullerton, and he joked at one point in an interview that he was Disney's longest running non-employee working for the company because he was a contractor, an outside employee, and not a Walt Disney Productions, Disneyland, or Disney World employee. But he worked with Jack, and they together came up with a sound system for the audio package that made America on Parade interesting. And this is what they used. It was this organ called Sadie Mae. It was built in the 1800s, and it was a fellow that had a huge collection of these mechanical devices. And they wanted to come up with something that conveyed old Americana. And Sadie Mae was an amazing organ. You can see all the horns on it. It played drums. It did all sorts of things. The trouble was, and one of the things that made it appealing to them was that a lot of the songs that they wanted to use, like Turkey in the Straw, things like that, were already in Sadie Mae's repertoire, but there were a whole bunch of them that were not. And Sadie Mae uses, we're going to see a video of it in just a second, but it uses a very interesting system. We've all seen player pianos, right? And the big roll of paper going through and things play. Well, Sadie Mae used punch cards, and it's not like punch cards like the old IBM punch cards. They're kind of rectangular cards, and you punch the music, the holes in it, and it plays. But the only guy that knew how to do this was, I think, in Belgium. So they had to go and get this guy to Jack and Don had to lay out what the music was. Then this fellow in Belgium had to go and punch it. But at this point in time, Disney decided that they would buy Sadie Mae as part of a huge collection of mechanical instruments. And it took, I think they said it was 21 tractor trailer trucks to move it from the original location, not just Sadie Mae, but everything that went with it. And they brought it down to Nashville, recorded all the Sadie Mae music down there. And then they brought those tapes back out to California to Jack Wagner's studio and overlaid Don's synthesis on it. So let me get ready to show you a video here. Somebody stop this share.
Does that thing still exist today?
It does. And Disney had it for a number of years, and around 1999, they sold it off. Another guy kept it for only a year or two, and it's now in a collection. I believe it's in Tennessee, but it is in a collection, and it's still in operating condition. So let me just get this set here in 1 second. Okay, I'm going to share screen here again, and this time I have to remember to do it with sound. So share sound and optimize for video clip. So here we go. can see the punch cards on the left. I think I'll stop that there before that song is stuck in our heads as
Yeah,
all it is.
it's a
But-
real one-man band.
Yeah, it's a kind of amazing thing. I love the little guy in front and he's conducting and playing, but you can see those cards, how many holes they had to punch on it. Because this thing, again, if you saw in the front, it had all those different horns and it was different sound levels, different volumes you could do. It was really an amazing piece of technology for the time.
How
So-
long did the punch cards last?
Oh, well, I think the cards last basically forever. They're pretty
Wow.
hardcore stock. And like I said, they still had quite a few of them when they bought it for a lot of the songs, but they didn't have the entire repertoire that they wanted. And it's hard to imagine that, you know, I don't know why there's only one guy in Belgium in the entire world that knows how to do it, but luckily they found the guy. I mean, today I'm sure the guy's dead, so I don't know what you do if you want to do a new Sadie Mae song or thing, but I guess you get to it. So with that,
It's interesting the cards are folded rather than on a roll.
yeah,
Kind of odd.
yeah, that's what I said. It's punch cards as opposed to that. They also let me just come up share the screen. They did another kind of interesting coup for this particular one. Here we go, share screen. We're going to be going back and forth between videos and stills and everything on this. But they came up with the whole motif again with Mickey and Donald and Goofy up there. Oh, by the way, in this particular shot, there was a lot of controversy here about Donald Duck giving America the finger. Okay, if you look, it's like, but stop and think.
Who would notice that?
Donald cannot give you the middle finger because Donald only has 4 fingers. So he's playing the fife. His fingers are up. He's playing the fife. There's nothing insidious planned there. But just like with the Little Mermaid cover, you know, you could say people come up with all sorts of things. But one of the things they did was they brought back Dick and Bob Sherman to do music that was a common theme that went throughout this musical motif that they did. And they wrote a song about the glorious Fourth. And you can see some of the words here. And everybody has a great time and nobody does a parade like I love the line here, the day's made for Disney parading. You know, they needed to rhyme, so parading became a word. So, but yeah, this was a Sherman Brothers song that everybody heard for 2 years and hasn't been heard since. So with that, I'm going to go back to another video and we're going to head over to Disneyland and we're going to get a good idea of what this parade was all about. It opened at first at Walt Disney World, and I think about a week later opened at Disneyland. And let me get the video here. Let me just cue it up. I'll stop. We're going to hear the music again. So hang on a second.
In the spirit of 76.
Yep, you're going to wait. I'm going to rewind you. So what this particular sequence is a set of 35 millimeter slides. It's 40 35 millimeter slides that Disney sold with a audio cassette. And if you remember back in, you know, most of us have gray hair. Remember back in school, they'd always have slideshows and they would, you know, be playing the record in the slideshow and they would tell you advance the slide when the beep goes off. Well, no beeps for this one. We're going to bong the Liberty Bell. Okay. So this was a set of and it's a pretty interesting way of telling you how this whole thing works. So let me go back, share screen. And again, share sound. Okay, we're going to open up this one. And we're going to learn all about America on Parade with Jack Wagner doing the narration for us.
In the spirit of 76, Walt Disney Productions proudly presents America on Parade. I'll be your guide on this musical tour of America's history. Each time you hear the sound of the Liberty Bell, you should advance to the next slide. Now, let's take a look at this Salute to America. Not quite as old as America, but very much a part of its culture, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and Goofy lead off to the tune of Yankee Doodle, the song that says America every time it's heard. Early one dawn in 1492, Christopher Columbus daringly set sail on unknown seas to find a new passage to the East Indies. This courageous voyage brought him to the shores of the New World. When the Pilgrims first settled in the New World, they were met by a very severe winter, and after having survived with the aid of the Native American Indians, set aside a day of Thanksgiving. Starting a new life was not all fun. Hard work and discipline were required. And being locked all day in the stocks or plunged into chilly water on the dunking stool served as discipline for those who were mischievous. When work was done and the satisfaction of raising a new homestead was in the air, neighbors from far and near gathered together for square dancing to foot-stomping melodies like Turkey in the Straw. One man who played a major part in the development of these soon-to-be-called United States was Benjamin Franklin. This man, a printer, author, inventor, scientist, diplomat, and statesman, carried the word from the colonies to the King of England that this new land, America, wanted its independence. When he returned from England with the King's denial, the colonists knew that they would have to fight for their independence. Patriotism grew throughout the colonies as they joined together to uphold their ideals of freedom, and when the fife and drums began to play, they were ready for battle. After 8 years of fighting, the cannon stopped firing. The colonists had won independence. Let freedom be heard, and let the Liberty Bell ring out across the land. The red, white, and blue of Old Glory became a symbol of unity for this new republic, and soon waved high over the new United States of America. A woman patriot, Betsy Ross, hand-sewed the first American flag in June of 1776 at the request of George Washington. Pushing across the frontiers into the West, pioneers made their way in covered wagons. New land was being explored. America was expanding. The great Mississippi River, commercial highway, romantic waterway, creator of many legends in American history. Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn lived and played along the mighty riverbanks. The mood of the Mississippi changed from tranquil to party time with the gaiety of steaming showboats. Loaded with people, they made their way up and down the river, and all enjoyed the merriment of carefree tunes. Pushing onward into the setting sun, stagecoaches brought more and more people to the frontiers as the pioneers left comfortable homesteads and headed further west, expanding America's boundaries, settling virgin lands, discovering gold. Lands were cleared and planted. Homes were built, and the discovery of gold started a rush, bringing thousands of people hoping to carve their fortunes from the dusty hills. Small towns sprang up like wildflowers as the westward movement continued. Now America stretched across the continent. Rails were laid on the vast plains, around towering mountains, and through thick forests. And on May 10, 1869, outside of Promontory, Utah, a golden railroad spike was driven, signifying the completion of the first transcontinental railway. Now America was tied together from coast to coast. Men and women together had settled this vast land. Together and equal, they would shape its destiny. Sister suffragettes united across the nation to establish equal voting rights. The Sunday band concerts, strolls through the park, all sweet pleasures we remember in the good old summertime. Youngsters grabbed their slates and chalk and skipped off to school. In this new land, education was a birthright open to all. America was moving faster and faster. Automobiles were bumping over ruts in the road. Ships were crossing the oceans. Inventors tinkered with flying machines. More rails were being laid. And some people even claimed we would fly to the moon one day. Leisure time enabled Americans to participate in favorite pastime sports. Time out, a favorite call to every American. Time out to watch, to play, or to root for our team. The traditional Sunday picnic brings out Americans' love for the fun food like ice cream, candy, popcorn, and hot dogs. But the all-time favorite and the best snack of all is the double, super giant jumbo sandwich. America was now going through its second revolution, the Industrial Revolution, of which Thomas Edison was a prominent figure with the invention of his electric light bulb. No longer are irons heated over an open flame. Music permeates the airwaves from a radio, and instant communication is available with the telephone. Tunes and fanciful melodies throughout the years always reflected the moods, feelings, desires, and ambitions of our country. Music is everywhere, and music surrounds us now more than ever before as new and exotic sounds emerge from this exciting industry. Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first animated feature movie and had to be seen to be believed. Americans flocked to their neighborhood theaters to see the latest thing in entertainment. The big silver movie screen, exciting color, and dish night all went begging when black and white flickers across a tiny television screen brought special entertainment right into the home. Now such great Disney films like Winnie the Pooh are seen in full color at home by millions. Not to be outdone by television, the movie industry created even wider screens and bigger sounds for movie fans who flocked back to the neighborhood theater to see the latest in extravagant productions, as well as old favorites like The Three Little Pigs. The circus comes to town, the symbol of show business in America. Still dazzling spectators from coast to coast, along with vaudeville, stage plays, radio, film, and television, giving us all a chance to step into a world of fantasy. Americans love to be entertained, and America knows how to please her audiences. The United States of America, from the beginning, discovery, contributions, achievements, to this very moment of the 200-year celebration of our independence. Today, we Americans are still standing proud and tall among others in the world. America, leading the way in helping others, maintaining freedom, a leader in equality. God bless America and all you stand for. May liberty's flaming torch forever shine from sea to shining sea. And may our great symbols of freedom shine like beacons for all nations to see and inspire all mankind to live together in peace and harmony.
I was waiting for one more dong to tell me it was over. I think that whole little thing is just a great look back at the parade. You know, if you look at it and as this thing was playing, I didn't want to talk over it, but you notice each time there was a gong and we went to another section, the whole music thing changed. And that was one of the things that really made the parade neat, was that they had done this for the electrical parade to divide Main Street at Disneyland into 14, well, not just Main Street, but the parade route into 14 separate zones. So rather than just hearing one song playing the entire time, like last night at the fireworks show, everybody heard, one song for wherever you were. But you would start, if you started the parade up at the Small World, as you came down, the music would move. And they had to come up with a system to take now that they had about 40 different musical segments for the 50 different floats. As they came down from zone 1 to zone 2, the music had to go down and come up as the next one would move in. So the people in zone one were now hearing the music, and then they would go into zone 2 and zone 3. And that was one of the things that Don, besides working on the music for this, he came up with a very elaborate control system for this. And they still use this today for the parades, any of the ones that they have. And I think they're on about the 4th version of the audio control system for it. But that was one of Don Dorsey's big contributions. Besides doing the music for this, he helped automate it, because in the early days it was a guy constantly turning dials and everything. Well, now it's all computerized and it just goes along. And they actually have little trackers on the floats, so that if the parade gets delayed because of a kid running out or a float breaks down, it doesn't automatically say, well, at 8 minutes into it, you ought to be hearing this. It will just keep playing the music until the little RFID thing gets to a certain parade route, and then it will kick in the next part of it automatically. So it's a pretty neat system. And you could also hear, if you listen back to the music, you could hear the Sadie Mae music in the background, but a tremendous amount of synthesized music that Don did that was overlaid on top of it. So I think it's like I said, it was a great parade. I was happy to see it at both parks numerous times. And it was I enjoyed it. So we're going to go look at some still pictures now. So let me get those ready. They did a lot of work. I'm going to talk later about the merchandising and stuff. But if you wanted to take America on Parade home with you, Disney made that easy. I mean, how nice of Disney to actually have stuff for us to buy, right? So we'll go here. So this is a set of Panaview souvenir slides. They're slightly larger than 35 millimeter. You have Panaview slides from all around the country and around the world, but they did several sets for America on Parade. For Disneyland, they did 2 sets. One was during the day, and they did one at night. For some reason at Disney World, they only did one combined one. Like most souvenir slides, they've turned very, very red. But as I've shown on past talks, thank goodness you can do wonders to revive it. So we're going to be following the parade route, starting up at the Small World area, and we're going to be coming down. Most of these shots are taken along that same section here, but again, we get good old Christopher Columbus. I feel like we ought to have Jack Wagner narrating this part. But again, these were, I think, great floats. The dolls put a lot of people off. The large heads and the large eyes. So it was actually in some of the concept art, the eyes were even larger. They looked like something out of Village of the Dam or Valley of the Dam, whatever that's like. But and Larry can talk more about it when we get to that part. My cheers and appreciation go out for the people that wore these things, because they were incredibly tall, and the weight of all these giant heads is up on your shoulder. I only tried one on for the sake of trying it on to see what it was like, and thank God I was not in that parade. And it's a lot of work to wear one of these things. But we're down at Town Square now, coming around, and we're going to go back out through the gate over by where, at this point in time, we were busy building Space Mountain. So it was a very congested area back behind Main Street, because we had to make room for all these floats at the end of every parade. And they would turn around and go the opposite direction at night, or they could take them around the back way of the park and do it again. But with all the construction equipment, it was also, that's where my parking spot was. So there were a couple of times I had to stay late because I had, say Betsy Ross or somebody blocking my way.
How do they propel those floats? Were they hand pulled?
No, electric motors. They have like something like this. There's a motor in there, and in all these floats, up here in the neck is where the characters could see. So each of the necks, you'll notice are open. In the float here, you're going to have a driver inside, and there's going to be some way for them to look out. Today, they use little small cameras, and they can see and everything. Back here, everything, there's something in here with the driver. He may be up here or whatever. He may be over here. With a wire mesh and scrim over that you don't see it, that they can drive down the parade route. Like this guy, for example, he's supposedly steering it. Well, he's just going to be playing with a fake wheel. The real guy is somewhere down inside. That was one of the things when they would take these things down and do the parade route, they'd get to the other end and run out with a whole bunch of giant electric cords to plug them in to recharge these things to get them back the other way. Now, stuff like these, they're just pushing these along.
Mhm.
Now, Carol and I, having designed several floats for the Rose Parade, I look at these and my thought is always, where's the driver? Here's our golden spike. Again, back down at Main Street. And they're curving around here, the back end of the train float, and they're going to come out and go into the parking area down here. Again, if they had any characters in these things, they had to come and use cherry pickers and things to get them out. This would shoot off steam. Again, wasn't shown in the slide, the other one, but steam would come out of the iron. So they had different things that gave extra feelings of motion. The records would turn. We're going to see one of the souvenir movies, and you can see, for example, the Aristocats, the records returning. Did everybody appreciate all those Disney plugs there? Yeah, like here, oh, you can see Winnie the Pooh in your theater, and you can see Snow White, and you can see this three little pigs. So that they did a lot of Disney plugging.
What were these things made out of?
These the floats here are steel tubular frames with basically other material, plywood, styrofoam, all sorts of things on it. The character costumes, again, wire frame that holds up the head on your neck, and then that's fiberglass over your the bodies are, the head is made out of fiberglass, and then the costumes are cloth and that.
Where were their eyes?
Well, in these costumes here, they're different. These are the traditional park costumes, but let's see if we get to another traditional big head costume.
Well, if there's somebody inside, the eyes are in the neck area.
Yeah. So here's two little known Disney characters, Lulubelle and Bongo, from one of the compilation films. Okay, so right here, you can see a mesh. The necks are, the human eyes are here. So the shoulders are here, and this head is coming down, resting in a frame. And if you go to the 2020 talk I did, I've got pictures of the head sitting backstage waiting to be worn. But again, that's all this weight of all these spikes and everything are above this person's head, so it really throws off your center of balance. She just had a stand. This could be a he.
What did it weigh, though? Was it heavy?
Oh, they were heavy. They were very heavy. So this person just had to basically stand here and turn back and forth. Some of the other characters, and we'll see that in the movie, had quite a bit of motion that they did, and it was kind of a impressive feat that they did. So
it looks like, I'm sorry, Bill, it looks like on the scale of her that, see her hands? That almost could be the guy inside's hands or the woman inside's hands. That she could also wave to the crowd and everybody would think she's animated because just the placement of where her hands are in relationship to the person inside of her.
Yeah, they all thought they were real tall. That's for sure.
Yeah, the hands are too small for the character.
Well, again, that's why they were called big heads. They're not just big characters, but they're big heads. they're definitely out of proportion with the hands, which are live human hands. So we're going to go see this at night now. Again, they put out a separate set of Sly's American Parade at night. And the parade, I thought it was really a great daytime parade. At nighttime, I thought it kind of lost something because you had to have, and you see here on this float, little spotlights around it to light up the characters and that. You also had to have spotlights you can see up here in the upper left, coming down onto the parade route. But I didn't think the floats showed as well, particularly, I don't know if we'll see it so much in some of these pictures. Yeah, you can see how up in the top, it gets real dark. And the lighting isn't catching it all, so everything's focused in the center or the lower part. And I just thought it was a more majestic parade at during the daytime.
So with these top-heavy costumes, you're standing on a moving float without losing your balance.
Yep.
That's a trick.
Yeah. Well, back here, by the way, GAF, the official photography company, they had bought the rights out from Kodak, so this was in the GAF days. But again, you can see these people are out dancing in the street now. So he or she has all this weight. Here's the face area where they're looking out in the neck. But they're out there dancing and twirling around. We'll see that more in the movie. The performers did a yeoman's job on this. I really, again, the more I saw it, and I'd see them come backstage, and man, they were just beat, and everybody's trying to get some water and stuff. But they really did a great job. Like I said, the eyes and the faces they were weird. There was no doubt about it. But it was a different. I mean, they did something that got people talking about it. They could have just gone out with traditional characters, but they basically they were saying America is a big oversized country, and we're going to do an oversized celebration of it.
Bill, can you
Yeah.
go back to that last slide for a second?
This
It looks
one?
like I know you right in the front of the boat there, you can see, I think, the panel that's the screen that the driver looked through. See how it's slightly lighter in the
Yeah.
darkness?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, sometimes the lights do catch things like that. That the materials are different. Paddle wheels going around. Hey, here's one for us all who live in Southern California, the Simi Valley, right? The Simi Valley route. I'm gonna have to look at the ones for Disney World and see if it was it would be too long a word, the Kissimmee route or something. Here comes the sandwich. Yeah, you can see in this one that this panel is different, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and you went to this one, for example, the crank on the telephone turned around and around and around as it came down the route.
Whose sandwich was that? With regard to,
Dagwood from the Blondies.
well, that's what I originally thought, but you said Disney characters, and Dagwood's not a Disney character. So my thought was, did Pluto make a big sandwich like that all the time?
No, the only one that could really come to the tops with that was, of all things, Donald's cousin Gus. And they did a cartoon where Donald's cousin Gus comes to visit, and he eats Donald at a house and home. And he literally goes in, if we go back to that for a second, he goes into the Donald's refrigerator and takes everything that he's got in the refrigerator, piles it on top, puts a piece of bread on it, squeezes it all down, and pops it in his mouth. And Donald is obviously quite bewildered. And then he realizes as long as cousin Gus is there, he's going to go broke. But you notice they never called it a Dagwood sandwich in Jack's narration, right? It's the double, triple decker sandwich, because if you said Dag, you might owe somebody some money.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably didn't get the rights to that, so they just used it. Everybody, when you first saw it, you went like, "Oh, a Dagwood sandwich," but then they didn't say that.
Right. Now, these were, again, the souvenir slides that they did, but some, as you can imagine, a lot of people, matter of fact, I got to find my own pictures of the parade. A lot of people took their own pictures, and we're going to see some of that. So, again, here we come down the street. There's the Winnie the Pooh unit there. And Liberty, Miss Liberty at the background. One thing that was really nice for the entire time of this, they put these different banners up on all the flagpole, the lights, on the street, flags, bunting, everything was very patriotic and very colorful. Here comes good old Uncle Sam. You can see some things changed in that last video that I did. He was holding a banner. It was very simple. It just said 1776, 1976. As the parade went on, they would tweak it. So they added this one. Now it says happy birthday. So they did make some small changes and things. So even if the parade isn't there, they did, like, here's the Carnation Corner, all done up with red, white, and blue. It was very good. This had nothing to do with the parade, but I thought people might enjoy this because it was an ad for sunscreen. This was back in the days when you could fly over Disneyland, which has a no-fly zone now, but they would fly over neat overhead, do these things with planes, and they tell you to come out and go get your copper tone and control your burn.
Why is it a no-fly zone? Why do they prohibit
because it's
aircraft?
terrorism. They don't want anybody flying over and doing anything. Ever since 9/11, the Disney parks are in non-fly zones. So even if they're doing a police chase in Anaheim and they're going over the park, they either will go around it or they have to get special permission. This, by the way, this is we've all seen people like drawing hearts in the sky and everything. Just for a total bunch of trivia, this type of thing is called sky typing. And in this particular case, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planes, and these were AT-6s. They fly along, and the computer controlling the lead plane tells all the planes when to turn on. So in this particular one, they do a puff of smoke, and then this one does a puff, a puff, a puff, and then they go back to this. And then they would be flying along, and we could. My plane was equipped for that. We took the system out now. But you'd get up to about 14,000 feet, so you'd have to go on oxygen. And these letters being up that high, the winds were less, they would last for quite a while. So anyway, you can't do that over Disneyland today, but it was something you could do back then. We'll get some more amateur slides here for a second. Again, the main parade route started with Small World, came down the route all the way to Main Street. Although we're going to see an exception to that coming up. So at the very beginning, the Native American Indians, as Jack described them, are welcoming everybody for the first Thanksgiving. And if you heard him say, you got stuck in the stocks as you were mischievous. Oh God, I just heard a dong go off in my head. Oh. Good old Betsy Ross.
It's like he's grabbing for the cable car.
Yeah, it looks that way. And you asked about propelling. Again, they had 150 characters, so they had some small, semi things out here. That the miner, the 49er, and he's dragging all his stuff down the street. And along comes our showboat. Let me grab the next ones here.
Did anybody notice if Jack Wagner even used the word Disney or Disneyland in the entire, narration?
Oh, yeah. He talks about Snow White and other Disney hits like Winnie the Pooh, and yeah, he used the word Disney several times in there.
Okay, and then I thought another thing that was noticeable was under the turkey. It said fun. So like a turkey was about to be put on Thanksgiving dinner and it said fun.
Yeah.
And then there's another float that was kind of sadistic where they were dipping, I guess, witches at the Salem witch trial into a hot pot thing or something.
Oh no, it's chili water, he said. Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the things they did was to entertain the crowd. They had a pre-parade unit, so they had the kids of the kingdom would come down, and again, everything was red, white, and blue, because the crowds would come down, and people would be sitting there for this parade 1 to 2 hours before the main thing kicked off. it was that popular parade and everybody wanted to get a seat. So again, if you leave them there for 2 hours, people get upset. So you bring the kids of the kingdom down, red, white, and blue, have them do some music, and then up, the gates
Warm
open.
up the crowd. Yeah.
Yep. And out comes the main act. During this, by the way, in some of the pictures you can see there's still people climbing the Matterhorn. They still had other entertainment still going on. Oh, somebody got a Nowie.
Those arches that are behind the steamboat, those were all people driven.
Right, they were being pulled along by the folks there.
The guys on both sides had to drag that thing the whole distance.
Yeah. And there is a little, you know, it's not so much at what you call it, Disney World, but there's a little bit of a hill on the parade route here. So you know, they had fun with that too.
Well, and we had problems when they started doing the rehearsals in April or May of '75. They discovered that the Liberty Square Bridge
Yeah.
that goes from was too tall.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much of an angle to get it up and down. So they lowered it, took a lot of the angle out of it. And it still was a challenge for most of those golf cart driven floats, but they made it up and over that. And then of course, getting on our place when they were backstage going around behind Jungle Cruise to get to Main Street backstage, that all had a lot of ups and downs and hills and stuff back there. And that was also where the height thing was because they had to go underneath the train bridge.
Right. Yeah, it's a sort of engineering. I'm glad you mentioned it. I always knew that the bridge in Florida was lowered for the parade. I was going to get that into the Florida pictures of it. But thanks for mentioning it. By the way, there's no more Kodak picture spots. We noticed we have the GAF photo trail. So just a little bit of Disney trivia for folks.
You'd see Disney going to these truck pulling contests, you know, to recruit guys to pull photos.
At the very top, there's two people up here.
Oh, yeah. I know you've said you've been in Matterhorn. Have you been on top of it too, Bill?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
There's a hatch up at the top right up here. You can get. I had never climbed it, obviously, but you could go up to the top here. You can see the pylon here for Tinkerbell and the cable coming down that she would slide across. So if you go all the way up to the top here, there's a hatch, and it was really interesting in the early days of the Matterhorn. The local TV stations or actually radio station would station a reporter up there in the morning and at night, and they would give the traffic conditions on the 5 and the freeways that they could see from up there.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, that was a standard job that people would have to go up there. So if you go up there, there's a big sign about do not open this hatch during show hours, which of course, you know, I went up on a Monday or Tuesday when the park was closed because I wasn't supposed to be up there and nobody's going to see me, but I opened it up. And I decided it was very windy, and I decided I would stick my head out, look around, and say I did it, but there was no way in hell I was going to stand up there the way it was blowing. I mean, no thank you.
Wise decision.
Yeah, I've made a few good ones in my life, so. Let me go to the next batch of slides here. And this one kind of perplexes me. We got Mickey and Donald and Goofy and everything, but they're in New Orleans Square. So I don't know, you know, what they're doing or why they're there or anything, but you can definitely see all the New Orleans Square, you know, stuff. So, and off we go. That was the Egg House restaurant behind them. And they come down the route. These are not fully restored. That's why the color is a bit off. But again, the The steam iron, as I mentioned, was shot out steam periodically coming down the route. So that will take us for Disneyland. Let's go over, and we're going to go 3,000 miles away. And we are going to go. Oh, actually, no. Before we do that, I do have a home movie. So let me turn this on. I'm going to have to switch over to video here. This is silent, but hang on 1 second. Okay. New share. We're going to share the mini movie. So one of the things they sold was an 8mm movie, and it makes collecting these things very hard because both boxes are identical. And on shrink wrap, they had a little sticker that says Disneyland or Walt Disney World. And if you take off the shrink wrap and you now today you go buy it on eBay, I've ended up with, I think, 4 copies now of Disneyland, and I do not have a Disney World one, which hopefully one day I'll get. These souvenir films have turned incredibly red. You can see I've managed to get some of the colors back. I'm going to rescan this one now because I just bought a new filter for the scanner, which is supposed to help on reducing the red and bringing some of it back. But this is a Super 8 movie. It was, again, they did 2 different versions. There is a sound version of this that I have not found in the wild. You can go out to YouTube, and there's a very, very bad video copy of one of the Super 8 movies that somebody did. And it's got basically uses the same soundtrack that we saw with Jack Wagner, but without the gongs. So he comes back, opens up again in 1492, The Daring Voyage of Christopher Columbus, whatever. But I like this because you see how much motion these people are putting into it, how much action. They're dancing. The men are coming up here. And, you know, again, tremendous weight, but look how they're just hopping and skipping. And at this point, they're pretty much getting down near the end of the parade route. They've been, you know, going for quite a bit of time. So they really...
What holds the heads on the costumes so you don't fall off? How do they attach those heads?
They're on your shoulder, and then you've got a belt going around your chest. And Larry can correct me anywhere I go wrong on this, but basically the weight is all up there and it's secured to you. Just like when I did Chip and Dale, for example, you have the whole chipmunk head above your head, but then you had a belt coming down around your waist that would, you had a back brace. So it took the weight on your shoulders and then went down your back, and a belt that would go around your waist to hold the chipmunk head in place.
Yeah, sounds uncomfortable.
And you got like football pads, only they weren't that comfortable on your shoulder pads. And then you had a brace in the back to keep it from flipping back, and then that buckled around. But yeah, that's how they went together, and they were heavy and hot. And we one day had a guest, one of the dancers, she got sick in the costume midday in May of '75, and you know, in Florida that's hotter than hell, and she didn't enjoy her lunch apparently, and it was coming back out of the costume. And the head, that there's a skirt like thing that comes down off the head, and that covers the arms and goes down maybe mid chest on everybody. Well, the lunch was coming, I'm trying not to be too graphic, but the lunch was coming out underneath that skirt as she's coming across Liberty Square, and we were covering the Lib Square side of the bridge. And then we're trying to figure out, how are we going to get this young lady out of here, because the head don't come off in the part.
Yeah.
And so we had to get her backstage and trying not to touch anywhere and get messed up. And oh yeah, fun days.
They still wear costumes like that today, don't they?
Oh yeah. The big heads, I can talk about it while we're in this silent movie. After the parade ended, the big heads were retired, and but they, you know, Disney doesn't throw things out. They were stuck in a warehouse, and for Florida, they were repurposed. And I have examples in the 2020 talk. They became characters in native costume for the nations of Epcot. When Epcot was opened, the whole idea was we were not going to have the Disney characters, Mickey and you know, the top Pluto, all that. In Epcot, it was going to be all the citizens of the world. So they took the citizens.
in a golden spike.
Yeah, somebody's chatting there. They took the
Sorry.
big heads, no problem. They took the big heads, put new costumes on them, put them out into the park. But as I mentioned in the 2020 talk, they found out nobody would buy merchandise with a Canadian Mountie with giant zombie eyes. So after a while, the characters are retired, and all of a sudden now you had Goofy dressed as a Mountie and Pluto dressed as whatever, a leprechaun, things like that. But the big heads, I don't think ever made a return back to Disneyland, just to Epcot.
What about Jessica from Toy Story? She has a pretty big head, and so does Woody.
Yeah, but I think they're new. I think they're totally new designs. She doesn't have the giant eyes, for example, as much as these guys. But probably sitting somewhere in the Disney archives is probably have bunch of big heads.
So
No,
when
whether-
they auditioned these dancers, did they have a specific body type in mind that would be able to handle this?
Yeah, Larry may want to talk more about that, but you definitely had to fit a certain height requirement.
Yeah, some of the kids that I had been in high school with were doing that, and yeah, they had to be fairly stocky, if you will, and yet trim. They need to be fairly tall. They had height things for that, just like the rest of the characters had height and weight and size, body shape restrictions. These folks, they obviously wanted a little bit taller, and they also had to be able to perform in Florida's heat like this. I mean, look at the dancers in that. Imagine doing that in Florida, from Frontierland at the train track all the way up through Lib Square around the hub, and then down and out back to the fire station. That was dang near a mile, if I'm not mistaken.
Think of the body shaming, though, that you're too little to be a mouse.
That happened a lot at Disney back in our days, but now they'll hire anybody that can breathe, and they prefer they breathe.
Yeah. No, there were definitely guides, like when we would do the characters for the cast parties. Well, a friend of mine would do Baloo because he was a lot bigger than me. So, I just, by the way, and this guy here, think how long.
Thank you very much.
This guy standing on 1 foot, and it looks real easy, but try standing on 1 foot for an hour, or 40 minutes or whatever this takes, and see how well you do with it. So again, I admire what a lot of these performers did. But
what do these folks do between the parades? Do they get to relax?
Yeah, Larry can talk about that.
Yeah, they basically, if they're working there, if they are working full time between the parades, they may go and put on a different costume and go do a meet and greet somewhere back in those days. Because at that point, the characters had free reign in the park. It's not like you've got a line up place to go to see them. They would just suddenly appear in one of the areas. And so they would fill in on that. They had some other things they would put them to do, and they'd rehearse and stuff in between.
This makes me wonder, did they have showers between acts?
Nope.
You need one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can see right there where the head is on that. By the way, when the giant mustard by, you could actually see the driver's face inside the scrim for the giant mustard pot.
Oh, I thought was a pepper.
Nice to know you didn't make them walk on their hands.
Yeah. Yeah, over the years, they've had different size restrictions for the characters. And like when I did Chip and Dale, they were my size, but now they've been down, so I couldn't do Chip today.
Tom, your sound's on again.
So you can see right there with Brer Bear, that's a much bigger guy than I would be able to do Brer Bear.
Yeah, I had Brer Bear because I was over 6 feet tall, so.
Yeah, I've never liked you.
Bill, when I went to the Hong Kong Disney, they had the parade, and they're very smartly had their parade. It was titled "A Salute to Water," so everybody got to wear swimsuits. Well, modified swimsuits.
Yeah. But again, this is, I'd like to find the Disney World version of this. If anybody does come up with it, please let me know. And if you have it in your collection, I would be more than glad to digitize it and get it back to you. Likewise, if you have the sound version of this, from either park, if you don't want to give it up, I will be glad to borrow it and return it, because I'm trying to make as large a collection of these Disney souvenir movies as possible. This, by the way, again, was done, this was Super 8. And I scanned it, and then that was upscaled to 60 frames per second. So it gave you a pretty nice set of motion going through it. But now we will head 3,000 miles away. We'll see if we see Larry in anything. We're going to get to America on Parade. And this is, again, the slides that we saw with the gong going on it. They did a slide set for Florida, but for whatever reason, they didn't have an audio tape and a gong going on it. So we're going to see just a version of it silent. Let me go back to share screen. Wow, I'm really having to work for this today. So here we are, America on Parade, copyright 1975 by Walt Disney Productions, because they had to put this thing together, and the parade again ran 1975 through 1976. It was going to run through 1977. They decided that the crowds were getting tired of the same parade for 2 years. So let's cut it short. I think they said it ran a total of 1,200 performances during the 2 parks between the 18 months that it ran. You know, you look at this and you go, gee, I wonder if that wash bucket's still in the archives. You know, they keep everything. So we're going down Main Street. Pretty much the same parade. We'll see if we see the stagecoach, if it said anything different. Oh, yeah, she's getting dunked into as Tom mentioned, a kettle. As Jack said, cold water. But yeah, you know, the old thing, throw in the water. If she floats, she's a witch. If she doesn't float. The cannons would go off and smoke would come out, so they'd make a popping noise, and out would come some CO2. We got a good sized crowd down there, right? And one of the things you can see here is parade crossing. Periodically, there would be a gap between the units, and they would race everybody across. But that became great fun if you're ever trying to work crowd control at one of these things, because people see the opening and they think, I can just walk up and stop for the parade. No, you've got to keep going.
Yeah, but they were nice to have, and we didn't have those originally when we started the parade. We realized we had a need for that, and so there were places where they would get them. The things were probably 10 or 12 foot tall, I think, and they were awkward. But when we got the coring done in the sidewalk, that it would drop in there, and then we could hook our crowd control ropes up to that, and they were great, because you could say, yeah, see that sign down there? Go down there and you can get across the street that way.
Yep. Yeah, and then afterwards, when the crowd's over, then you got to pick them up and get them out of there. And everybody now is heading out at, particularly nighttime parade. Everybody's trying to get out of the park.
Oh yeah, and
ropes and stanchions and everything out of there.
Yeah.
One of the things that's nice is they did do people of color to put them in the parade, so it was being a bit proactive back then. This vote's for you, Cody. You could go and ride the horse in the parade. And it's the Simi Valley route. It's the same stagecoach. I would wonder how many people in Florida had any idea where Simi Valley is. giant spittoon, you know, and he's got the money at the bank. So it's again, this is all the stuff that Larkin did with very minimalistic designs. You know, you certainly know you're looking at a saloon and everything here, but you know, the focus in his design was to put on the characters and their movement. He was a 4-time Tony Award winner, by the way. So Disney certainly did well, and you know, they did not hire cheap. They got really good people to put this thing together. Maybe I could borrow the police costume and see how that works on patrol.
You know, you say minimalist, but really, minimalists could look cheap, and these don't.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Larry, do you want to talk anything about trying to get the floats and everything past the horse car tracks?
Well, yeah, two things. But the train tracks we found, when they started doing rehearsals in the middle of the night, and one of the bigger floats, and I can't remember which one it is, it came out, and to the left of this, looking at that float, to the left is where the gate is that goes backstage. But the float would go to the right and go around behind us. And one of those big floats, it rolled out onto Main Street right about in that area somewhere. And the asphalt that they had there gave way and collapsed, and the thing sunk to the ground. Now, most of the wheels on these guys were like dollies. You know, they weren't maybe 4 or 5 inches diameter, and they sunk in, and they went, uh-oh, the stuff was too heavy, and they backed out. In the meantime, Main Street got concrete before the parade went on full time. But they had these orange or yellow rubber things that they stuffed down in there. I can't remember what the name of the darn things were, but they would stuff them down in the tracks so that the wheels would not get stuck in the train tracks.
Yeah, I remember talking to people that had to pull them out, and they did not. I don't know if you ever had the experience. The horses, of course, would walk down the street, and they would do what horses do, right? Well, you know, there was enough residue in the thing that when you pulled the little rubber thing out, some of the residue would come with it. So,
oh yeah,
not pleasant.
If you weren't doing a very good job that day, you probably drew the short straw to have to go to pull those back out.
Yeah.
The Main Street folks, they're telling us about that. I'm going, boy, I'm glad I'm not on Main Street. I've got back here. This is my area.
Why did they use a wider tire so it doesn't get stuck in the train tracks?
Ultimately, I think they did. They went a little bit fatter, but they still today, anything that's going on Main Street for the parade, they put those rubber things in there still.
Yeah.
I was there last time I was in Main Street. Was back in May or April, and for the Run Disney event, and they had put those in there for that.
Now, this is the school here, and it's interesting in the Disney press releases, and I don't know, Larry, if you can say whether it's accurate or not. They said they took the school float out of the parade during the summer and the Christmas break holidays because kids weren't in school and they didn't want to make them think about school. Do you remember if that was actually a fact or not?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, to tell you the gosh darn truth. Because most of the time on summers, I was doing my lead job on an attraction and didn't get down to do crowd control for the parade. So I'm not sure. It would make sense. That's a Disney thing. I think the kids would get a kick out of it, or that if it was during that school time, you know, or off school time, if it was still in there, I think the kids would get teased about it or whatever from their parents.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like I said, I went through the press release on it.
They
You know,
use the
I'm
same
looking at
float-
I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the artifacts that they chose. Some of them are really obvious, but why the steam iron, for example?
It was a major thing going from, as Jack said, irons that were heated in a fire, and now you could do a steam iron. And, it's just like in America, what you call the carousel of progress, how we've made life so good and easy, and poor mom is still working her way in. Dad's pontificating and she's doing all the laundry. And, Sarah's wash day is only 8 hours now. So,
Yeah,
Did they use the same floats at each end of the country? Or they had duplicate floats, one for the
Yeah,
East Coast, one for the
duplicates.
West?
yeah, besides on this
Duplicate.
one too, you could, Carolyn, you could put some motion in it and have the steam and stuff come out. So that, they did this crank one around and around. They try to come up with stuff that wasn't just static coming down. And here again, we get the Aristocats. Snow White. I always found it interesting. Winnie the Pooh, they had to put up on a box, I guess, so he could get more prominent view or something.
He was shorter.
Yeah, he's also on a box in the California.
Yeah. And that float there, is not the Pooh float though. The next one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, those are still in use. They've put them to use. They've been in all kinds of stuff. And they were easy to redo them because they were pretty plain. They at Christmas time, prior to that and after that event, they would have these. They would use these and doctor them up for Christmas and put stuff on them.
Now, the Three Little Pigs here, there's a famous lawsuit from 1976 where a woman claimed that at the end of an American parade, the Three Little Pigs came out onto Main Street, and one of the pigs came up and grabbed her by the breast and squeezed so hard she thought she was going to faint. So she sued Disney, and the woman I worked with, Joyce Seaford, God, amazing, I can remember the name, was one of the paralegals working in the case. And they had great fun where they brought the woman into court, and they had her testify about this tremendously evil thing the pig had done, and all this emotional, and she wanted like $5 million for emotional distress. And they brought the pig in, and they showed that in these particular costumes, here's the guys, and I've been one of the pigs, so I know it. You can see up here where your eyes are, your arms are here, and you're holding a metal rod, well, plastic end to a plastic hand on a metal rod. So your hands end up about here. The fingers are totally cast. They cannot squeeze. They cannot move. So they brought the pig costume in, demonstrated it, and the judge said, case dismissed. So Disney was very happy with that, and they had done it to make a point that we do not just roll over on lawsuits. So yeah, the famous thing, the little pigs. I love Bongo and Lulabelle. I wish I'd see them in more parades. I thought that was a great short. Say it with a slap. They would get high school marching bands to join in the parade. So again, you could, typical thing, come in, we'll give you free admission to the park. Your mom and dad have to pay to see you march. But again, this was a way to make the parade different and, entertaining each time. Coming down to the end of it.
Those uniforms are wool.
I don't know what they're.
No, they are. I was in marching band. I know they were wool. Yeah.
Yeah, they're hot.
Even the Florida schools, they are still in wool.
Oh, God.
I think there's some company in Kansas that makes book off of making marching band uniforms.
Yeah. How to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, pretty much the same as we've seen at Disneyland.
There's the goo is stuffed into the rails on that one, on that picture.
Oh, yeah.
See it right there?
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But boy, is it yucky taking it out. I think the lighting was a little better at Florida, at least on Main Street, because Main Street's a little bit taller.
Yeah.
And they put all kinds of lights up there on there. And now just about everywhere they've got a parade, if there's not tall buildings, they've created these lighting towers that pop up out of the ground.
Yeah.
It's obvious that these are made with the park lighting, and those earlier ones you showed were with flash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see all the lights up here. Again, during the day, they can lower down so you don't get the unseemly issue of, the lights sticking above. Here comes another marching band. I bet they were glad to get to the end. And there we go. Let me see what else we have for Disney World. 1 second. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying. All right, that was the slide set that they sold. Well, the Panaviews are pretty much the same. Let's see.
I find that amazing. You got a new stuff to show us.
Let me. This was a video I grabbed off of YouTube, and hang on, let me get to it. I will stop that share. Do a new share. This video, it will give the credit to the person I swiped it from, but I thought they did a very nice job of some amateur footage from the fair, besides what we've seen from Disney. So, okay, we'll go with that. So again, this is in the days before everybody had a portable phone in their camera, or a portable Betamax, or a VHS or anything. But this is something that was great.
Well, that's some of the music.
Yeah.
I think.
This is going from Main Street heading back towards Disneyland, correct? Here's Sadie Mae doing the background music with Don Dorsey's overlay. If you go to the site, by the way, RetroDisneyWorld.com, they have a lot of historic movies and things from the days gone by at the park. Great site. She must have gotten these and she gets to sit down the whole round.
How many people does it take to operate this parade?
150 performers plus the people driving 50 floats. So a good 200 plus people. Plus then you need all the crowd control and all the rest of it. So it's 200 plus people out on the route. Disney built it as their largest parade to date. in the back with the rope and everybody following the parade down. Uncle Sam doesn't have his banner for that one. Stop there if they go into the rest of the park. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Now, as long as they have the video, Tom Brooks suggested I play a video for you, so hang on here 1 second. Okay, we're going to celebrate the 4th of July with Sandy Eagle.
I, Sam Eagle, want to wish you an absolutely glorious 4th of July. As fireworks light up the sky, let us all be reminded of all those great Americans who have come before us, especially those who helped freedom take wing. Happy birthday, America. Here's hoping someone bakes you a delicious apple pie. I know you prefer that over birthday cake.
Anyway, I got a kick out of that.
That's funny.
Yeah, real quick before we go, there's another video I just wanted to pop up here, real quick, and then I'll just talk about the merchandise to wrap this up. There was a show that came out in 1976, or maybe it might have been 75. I have to look. I think it was 76 with Red Skelton. It was called Monsanto Night. I'm just going to play the very beginning of it here.
Tonight, Monsanto presents from Disneyland, Walt Disney World, a bicentennial celebration. Walt Disney's America on Parade. With Freddie the Freeloader, Sheriff Deadeye, and starring one of America's clowns, Red Skelton.
Nobody's working today, you bet. Families are out promenading. Picnic tables are being set. The day is made for Disney Parade. Bunting and banners are everywhere. Hot dogs and fresh lemonade. No sense in waiting, let's start celebrating America on Parade. Ladies and gentlemen, Red Skelton.
Now I'm going to stop there. I wanted to play that because they had the Sherman Brothers' Glorious 4th song, which I think is a cute little ditty and hasn't been heard an awful lot. The rest of that show is on, this was a copy I got from the archives, which they don't have any really good ones. There's a very bad copy on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing, which is amazing because it has next to 0 of America on Parade in that entire 34 minutes. So it is all Red Skelton doing his Clem Cadiddle-Hopper and Sheriff Bart and all. I mean, it's America on Parade without America on Parade. So it was just kind of a great. Let me just get to the merchandising piece real quick. Merchandise. This was a big parade for Disney, and they really went all the way out on merchandising this thing. You could buy let's see, share screen. Whoops, went to the wrong one. Sorry, 1 second. Share screen. Here we go. Yeah, we'll get it. Okay, I think by now I'd have this down pat. They had merchandise of every type and form that you can imagine. This, for example, is a set of 4 plates, and they ran about $35, $40 a plate, which is kind of significant money for 1975. But the very nice gold trim on them, and these became very, very collectible. You could also get bisque figures, and the bisque figures were kind of interesting. If we zoom in here a little bit, see that the flag's got a little bit of a glitch on it, right? This one is nice. It doesn't have the glitch, but almost every one of them, I have another shot, will come up somewhere. This rod that the flags are on is very thin, and it slid up and down in Mickey's hands. And when they packaged them, basically a lot of these rods broke, but they also seemed to package them when the paint was still wet, and this thing would swivel over and hit Goofy and always damage the flag. So the ones without flag damage can command a much higher percentage of price for Disney collectors. And again, if you can get one with Mickey without the broken flag staff, that's another a plus for you. They had this very nice little soft cover booklet that they sold at both parks about.
I have that actually.
You have the booklet?
Yeah, I do. Sitting in the
Oh.
bookcase behind me.
Yeah, I got the booklet, and there's also a hardcover book we're going to see. They put out this limited edition, which it was I always get a kick out of limited edition, right? How many are you going to make? Well, we're going to stop selling them in 1977. That's how limited it is. Yeah. So yeah, but we're going to limit it to as many as we can make. You could also get a decal. You could get this decal and stick on a window or anything that you wanted to do to make your own American Parade souvenir. And you could make your own glass, or you could buy a souvenir glass down there. You could get this book, a dazzling history of the dazzling fun-filled pageant. This book ran 132 pages. If you get a copy of it, it has an awful lot of concept design art of how the characters were initially created. And the eyes are even much bigger on the design art than they came out on the float in the parade itself. You can find this book, a PDF of it on online. But again, it's a very nice book, 132 pages of it. You could get a keychain. You could get a license plate for your car, because in Florida at that point, they only had one license plate. I think they still only have one, right? So
Yeah,
you
still
could-
just got one. They tried to go to 2 this year,
yeah. So you can
talked
go,
themselves out of it.
oh, I tell you, from law enforcement, we really like the front plates sometimes because the
Yeah.
cameras catch them. But you could put this on your car. You could buy a little golden book of Disney on Parade. And this one, I always felt cheated because Donald goes to American Parade and he's obviously in Florida. And I think we in California, we deserved one, but we had to share it. You could buy a lunchbox. You could get a metal plate. This is just like the other plates, but this one's made out of metal. And, you know, sort of like we had the 64 World's Fair, you had all those metal plates they put out. You could get this. And now, what's Disney selling in the shops today? They made a modern version of the America on Parade thing. This is currently available at Disney World today. Tom would, I'm sure, have this. It's a
Yay.
record.
Oh yeah, several.
Picture disc version of it. You could get a popcorn thing. Of course, they had Disneyland and Disney World versions. I mean, think now what they would sell for American Parade with all the popcorn tin craze that everybody goes. You'd have to get a $20 Liberty Bell or a Liberty Bell torch or something, you know, that would be. But here you got it for free with your popcorn. And you could take it all home in your Disney shopping bag. They also sold sticker books that you could take dolls and you could
Paper dolls. Yeah.
What?
put things on. You can see
When
how
you're
big
done,
the eyes are here.
don't turn your computer off. I
You
want
could buy
you
a
to look
sticker.
at the
Somebody's chatting away.
website one more time before I
Okay.
make it live.
You could get the sticker and you could turn anything into a souvenir. And you could buy the records. So like I meant, the movies rather. Once the Shrek rack comes off, there's no way to tell which version you've got. And again, there is a silent sound version. Modern days, they've taken out their Vinylmation, and you can get the figures and doing that. So you can just keep buying and buying and buying. There is, again, I've never seen the Light Parade is great, but there's not a lot of merchandise for it. This parade just had merchandise, and I've got a bunch of it in boxes. So
Reference to Mel Brooks and Spaceballs.
what's that?
It's the reference to Mel Brooks and Spaceballs, because remember, part of his thing in Spaceballs was creating all these other items that you could sell, you know,
Oh,
toilet
yeah.
paper and yeah.
Yeah.
We even got name tags. Our name tags were updated
Yeah.
for AOP. So yeah.
That was my very first name tag, because I started in 1976. So in my box of name tags, I've got my American Parade name tag Bill. So yeah, but it was a great parade. Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I felt the very first day I went backstage and everything was just parked there. I said, "Wow, man, I'm part of the family now. I'm in on the inside." So it was great. So how many people here saw the parade over time?
Yeah.
Yep,
Good
there we
time.
go.
Carol, you didn't put up your hand. You must have seen American Parade. You're muted.
I probably did, but I don't remember offhand.
Oh, okay. This was before we were dating. When we were dating, I would have made her go down and see it all the time. So
Bill, do you know if you heard anything about any plans to do one for the 275th?
no, it's interesting. As you know,
250th, I
how
mean.
secretive, Imagineering is about anything. But I've tried asking friends in the entertainment division, and they said they haven't heard anything about it. So it would be a real shame if they let it go by and don't have anything for it.
Yeah.
I think at least in Florida, with where all the construction's going to be starting Monday in Frontierland, that could be a challenge to do that massive of a parade. Because the parade headquarters is back on the other side of the train tracks at Frontierland. You're familiar with that, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where the parade building is, and so they zigzag around, come around from Main Street, come around, and then go back out that way. So with all the stuff that's getting started there, that's going to be a pretty busy corner back there. The trees that used to be on the other side of the light show canal, they're not there anymore. You can see the light show from the road because they've cleared all that out for staging and whatever for what's going to get started next week. So I don't know. They ought to do something. Disney has always been so strong on America and promoting Americans, and they'll hopefully they'll come up with something.
Larry, is it too late to go down back to the park and chain yourself to a tree on the island so that they don't destroy it?
Well, I thought that Tom Nabby was going to do that. He went out there to celebrate his first day at working for Walt back, 56 years ago now.
Yeah.
Tom went out and got a group to go with him, and they went out to the island and everything. And we really thought he was either going to paint the fence or he was just going to chain himself to one of the trees on the island and stay. But he's out of there, and he said that's probably the last time I'll go there. They'll go ahead and do their thing and go on with it and go from there. So
I'm still so disappointed, and it's funny. I was talking to we have one of the police officers work with is a huge Disney fan, and he's got annual pass to both parks because he's got the DVC pass. He's got DVC that he goes for 2-3 weeks every year in end of September, beginning of October. But he was like, "Oh, they got to take out the river at Disneyland." And I said, "You do realize like Walt designed Tom Sawyer's Island? It's old fashioned, and they got to take out the Autopia." And they got to. I said, now.
It's blasphemy. They have changed somewhat the initial planning for that I've seen, where they're going to keep part of Rivers of America up against the water from where the ferry boat dock is around to in front of the Bears. That water is going to stay. And they're going to do everything else behind that. The thing that the public hasn't been done, and we're straying off, the water used to come in behind 20,000 Leagues, went through 20,000 Leagues, went then into the moat in front of the castle. Then the water went to the jungle. The jungle went to the Rivers of America, and then it went out the light show canal and went back into circulation, because every drop of water in that 27,000 acres is controlled for a lot of reasons, and so they keep track of where it all goes. So if you take out the Rivers of America, you got to reroute a bunch of stuff, to get that water circulated around. And so it's going to be interesting. There's a lot of stuff going in there.
Yeah, the thing I was trying to figure out is how do you explain the Hudson River Haunted Mansion when there's no river that it's on anymore? So
Right.
yeah, because
They'll just change the name.
Yeah.
The Simi Valley Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, technically, Disney World is in the Simi Valley, the Kissimmee Valley River
Keystone
area.
Valley. So, but anyway, I hope people had fun going back to American Parade. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I made a point to, during the day if I was working I need to take a break, go out during the day and watch it. And then, there's no sense driving home. The traffic's going to be bad. I'll stay and watch it. So I don't know how many times I saw it. And I got a kick out of it. I thought it was really lively. And I didn't have any idea at that point in time how they did all the music or anything. But, I thought it was a very well done salute to American history. And I think Disney did themselves proud on it. So hope people enjoyed it and hope it brought back some memories. I'm still scared that cat's going to eat Don. I'm just glad I can't, when I'm giving the talk, I can't see all of you. So, I would have been fixated on that the entire time.
I'll put one of the coyotes up on the tree.
Oh, okay, great. Oh, God, the coyote, I should show you a picture. We live across the street from a park and we have coyotes and we've had bears, mountain lions and everything. But just yesterday, we've had a homeless woman showed up here a week ago Sunday and going through the trash and calling 911 because she's passed out, falling down in the street. Yesterday, my neighbor goes out and she's passed out on somebody's front lawn and there's a coyote walking up sniffing her. And it was like, oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
it's not cooked well enough for me yet. Yeah, the coyote.
The coyote thought better. Oh no, I don't think that's tasty, and it left. But it's really, I mean, you see the video, you go, oh crap, so next week on Tuesday, if anybody's in the mood, I will be giving a talk on the 1933-1934 Chicago World's Fair for the Adventure Club, the outfit that I've done several other talks for, which means after I take Carol to lunch today, I'm going to be back at the computer for the next 2 days, because now that we've sold tickets, I guess I need to put it together. But it's going to be next Tuesday, and the 8th and the 15th, we're doing 2 parts on the 33-34 fair. So if you're connected to me on Facebook, you can go online. I'm also going to stick a plug on it on the Zoom page saying in between. Next week, I've been scanning a bunch of movies, and it's really amazing. You come up with things that you don't think are going to be fun. And like I had this one reel, and it just said something like vacation. Oh, okay, what's it a vacation of? And they're in New York City in 1957, I guess it was. And and then the guy jumps up for anybody that's from New York. The Throgs Neck Bridge is under construction in 1959, and then he jumps up to Lake George, New York. And it turned out to be about 4 years worth of stuff on a 5-inch reel, but it was like, well, that's really cool. He got that. Oh, that's really cool. He got that. Oh, and now he's up at Fort Ticonderoga. So you end up, you start in he had pictures of like Broadway and that sort of stuff in Manhattan, and it ends up in the Adirondacks. So, and his vacation evidently lasted 4 years. So, but yeah, I've got some other fun stuff for next week. I think we'll have fun with. So I appreciate folks joining. Hope everybody has a great 4th of July weekend. Larry, thanks for joining it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Come to us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. A lot of fun.
Oh,
Thanks
sure,
for
no
the
problem.
invite. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and Larry, if there's ever anything you have of pictures or movies or anything for your Disney days you'd like to share, I'm always glad to hear from guest hosts who would like to entertain us.
I love that, and I keep going back, and I think, boy, I wish I had more pictures from those days. But in those days, we weren't allowed to carry a camera on site.
Yeah.
And we didn't have cell phones, so we could have cheated on that. So it's like somebody, I was looking the other day or a couple of years back, and I go, man, somebody said, well, what did you look like in your costumes? And I go, well, it's the regular Fantasyland thing, most of the time, and then 20,000 Leagues. And they said, well, gee, I don't know. Well, somebody in one of our Disney groups on Facebook found a picture that somebody had taken of me setting up for America on Parade for crowd control at the Liberty Square Bridge. And I was in my Fantasyland costume that day. And I'm like, holy crud. And that's the only picture I've got. I don't even know who there's another young lady in there, cast member in there with it. Nobody remembers who she is. But I thought, well, that's the only one I got. I have to find it. I'll send that over to you.
Yeah, I can relate because at the studio, they had a very firm rule about no cameras because again, they don't want some picture taken of some, actress picking your nose or something getting out. So for all my years at the studio, I don't have any pictures. Now, of course, you go take tours I don't know how many pictures I've got of Carol standing out there at the, Mickey Avenue sign sort of thing. And then I spent 14 years at Warner Brothers, and I have one roll of film because I had to go and take a picture of something that was going to be printed in a Hewlett-Packard magazine about what we were doing with Hewlett-Packard computers. So I went in, and they said it's got to be in black and white. So I went in and took 2 shots of the computer, and I said, well, I've got 24 more shots. So I walked around the lot one day taking pictures of the Duke of Hazzard Street and the Laramie Street and that sort of stuff. And that for 14 years, and I think, oh my God. I was on the set of Ghostbusters. I could have taken pictures of that. Oh, I was on the set of Man. I could have taken pictures of that. No, I've got 24 black and white pictures of the back lot. And again, somebody said, why didn't you take more pictures of Disney? I said, how many? And I think this guy worked at an insurance company. I said, how many pictures do you have of yourself at the insurance company? He goes, well, none. Why would I? And I said, that's the whole thing. It was just to us.
It was our job. It's what we did. We went in, we took care of people, and we joke now because I go up here 4 weekends a year to do the Run Disney events. And we're there, we do the time clocks that are set out at every mile marker. And people will say, oh, well, really? Gosh, you work with Disney? Yeah. What do you do? I said, I make sure that 17,000 people don't get lost on the course.
Right. I'm just seeing if I can find one picture here real quick. Have to figure out what decade I stuck this thing in. Well, I've got my pictures all sorted by decade, and then decade by year, and then but under that I have come on. Okay, let's see. Oh, helps if he types things right. I'm trying to reach over. Let me get this. Okay.
Larry, for what it's worth, I spent a bunch of years working in planetariums, and I knew people that worked in museums and aquariums, and I think they'd have the same attitude of like, this was my job.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to know what the magic is like behind it.
I could come over any day and come back and look at this. And it's somebody, they go, so what did you do? And I said, well, let's see. I worked on the Skyway. I worked on 20,000 Leagues. I worked at Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I worked at Snow White's Mine Car Ride. And all those attractions are gone. I did time at Small World. I did time at Peter Pan. If You Had Wings. I started it If You Had Wings 8 days after it opened back in 72. And it's gone. So it's like, maybe I was a bad thing, it just.
Yeah, they used to joke when I got assigned to a project at WED that it was going to die. Here comes Bill. He's going to kill it. So I can relate. Let me just share one picture here real quick. So occasionally you get a picture of what you call it. Like you said, somebody got a picture of you, Larry.
Yeah. So
here's if you look very far over the left, there's a chip and there's my head ready to go. But you were asking earlier, you got the back brace and everything else.
Yeah.
We're here in the zoo, and somebody got my picture. That one, of course, is down in the tunnel underneath of Main Street. But yeah, Rare Bear with an attitude. But
are you in that picture?
I'm right here. This is me on the left with the side cutting out. That's me.
With the sideburns?
Yeah.
Wow. That's you.
Something whatever. So Ron Kaufman, he was getting set, and we got our genuine Zoo Crew shirt that I still got somewhere. So,
Oh, wow.
I don't think
Isn't time a killer?
the shirt shrink, so. Well, hope to see you on Tuesday and see some of you next week then. Thanks and have a great weekend.
Thanks,
Okay,
everybody.
thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
Bill.
Bill.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye-bye, folks. Bye-bye.